Welcome to the Baptist Broadcast podcast and YouTube channel. I'm Josh Summer, the host of the Baptist Broadcast. This is an introductory video so that you can kind of figure out what the lay of the land is here on the channel and on the podcast. It would be a shame for you to get on here and start sifting through content and it not be what you expect. So the first thing I want you to do is just sit tight, watch this video. That way you can get an understanding of what I'm going to be doing on this channel. First, expectations. What can you expect from me? What can you expect from the Baptist Broadcast in terms of content? What am I going to be putting out week in and week out as I have time, as time permits? Well, firstly and foremostly, we're going to be focused on confessional theology. First, confessional theism, really, or we might call it confessional theology proper, or it's been called classical theism as of recent. And so we're going to be focused on confessional or classical theism. That is the theism, the theology proper that is presented to us in the 1689 or the 1677, which is the more accurate date for the Second London Baptist Confession of Faith. Secondly, as you can see up here on the screen, we're going to be looking at confessional hermeneutics. How did the framers of the Second London Confession reach the theological conclusions? What is their exegetical work? What is their approach to the scriptures? So we're going to be focused in on confessional hermeneutics, hermeneutics being the art and science of biblical interpretation in this case. And then thirdly, we're going to be focused in on confessional Baptist distinctives. So what is theology that is distinct to Baptists? So that's going to take us into covenant theology. It's going to take us into ecclesiology. It's going to take us into sacramentology. Secondly, what are my commitments to you in terms of the character of this show, the character of this podcast? And they are as follows. My commitments to you, I'm going to remain accountable to the local church. The Lord has had me at Victory Baptist Church for the last 3 years as of this previous April. And so I remain firstly and foremostly accountable to them and my family. So I will remain accountable to that institution, as I think is best for anyone who has any sort of public ministry whatsoever, preferably their pastors, elders, or theology professors, someone that's trained in doctrine, and they are accountable to the local church. So that is my first commitment in terms of the character and the virtue of this show and podcast. The next thing is I'm going to remain accountable to fellow pastors, so friends who are pastors, not necessarily at my church, but other pastors that I share a common confession with. We agree doctrinally on the Second London Confession and will remain theologically accountable to one another. And then also, you will get well-researched content here, and if I'm wrong, hopefully someone will tell me, and I'll be able to make the proper corrections publicly on the video, on the podcast, on the YouTube channel. So those are my commitments. The last thing that I'll say, I don't want to be on here too long, it's just an intro video, is that I encourage you, if you are a fellow Christian, to be accountable to your local church. Firstly and foremostly, to care and uphold the health of that local church. Do not use internet persons like myself to undermine anything that's going on within your local church. There are ministries out there that work to, I think, probably without even thinking about it, that work to undermine the institution of the local church. And I think that's a very dangerous thing. The Lord Jesus Christ did not institute ministry through the internet. The Lord Jesus Christ instituted ministry through his local church. And so I think firstly and foremostly, everyone ought to be accountable. All Christians ought to be accountable to their respective local churches. So please do not take the content that you learn here and use it to, go to your church and whop somebody over the head with it. Your pastors, your deacons, your fellow church members, do not do that. Your local church takes precedent position, and remain accountable to real people. Real people, not people on the internet, not me. This is just supplementary content. So anything that I produce on here is supplementary. Most of it is the byproduct of study for my local church or for assignments that I'm doing at IRBS, International Reformed Baptist Seminary. So with that being said, I'll let you all get off here. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for coming. Hopefully it will be helpful for you now that you kind of have the lay of the land. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and happy watching and listening.